Gen Z and millennials are cooked. Just watch this clip real quick.
Really making them two of the weakest months since the pandemic. Let's get right to CNN's Zane Asher for the latest on this. What are you seeing, Zane?
John, I don't know what to say. I mean, this number is bad. You mentioned the downward revisions, but if you look at this number, 73,000 jobs added compared to 115,000 that was expected. And you have to remember that in order for us not to be in the danger zone in this economy, the economy should be chugging along at least 100,000 jobs every month. The fact that this is below that is significant.
As you just seen in the clip, we currently have the worst job market in modern history. And this happens to happen when Gen Z and millennials are finally entering adulthood. And now we're entering adulthood with no job, no home, and no hope. And I guess you can say that all of America is kind of going through its Detroit phase. If you don't know what happened in Detroit, majority of the jobs in Detroit back in the days were car factories. But as wages and things got more expensive here in the U.S., these car factories ended up going overseas, meaning majority of people had no jobs. So there was a mass exodus out of Detroit, and Detroit is what it is today ever since then. Okay, so let's actually talk about why there aren't any jobs. It's actually because of multiple factors, but actually the main reason is because America is actually going through a transitional period. This is similar to when America used to have factory jobs and then transitioned to white collar work. Now we're going from white collar work to all the white collar jobs being taken by AI. And then you also have like unskilled labor and blue collar jobs all being taken by illegal immigration and H-1B visas.
Okay.
You need one room key or two room key?
Two, just in case I lose one.
Yes, I'll just make this for you.
Now, the second thing I want to talk about, we already know, we already hit the topic. We know that we inherited the worst job market, right? But we also inherited the worst inflation in modern history. But let me actually put this into perspective for you. So I actually found this post on X. I'm going to read it to you guys real quick. Someone by the name of Middle Class Party said, older generations say we all struggled in our 20s. And he says, no, you didn't. You didn't pay $2,200 for rent and $7 for eggs. You didn't graduate into $50K of student debt and zero job security. Gen Z isn't dramatic. They're drowning. And then someone reposted his tweet and said, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate in 1981 was 16%. And then someone commented under that saying, yes, rates were at 16% in 1981 for a few quarters, but the median home price was $70,000 and the median income was $21,000. That's a 3.3 times price to income ratio, even at peak rates. Today, the median home price is $430,000, median income $60,000. That's a 7.2 times price to income ratio, more than double the burden. And these posts actually put things into perspective because my dad came to America in the 80s, so I'm a first generation American. And my dad always told me, like, yo, with one minimum wage job, he said he was doing construction jobs, working at a theater, doing security. He said with just one minimum wage job, he was able to raise us, pay expense for my mother, pay the rent, buy a house, buy a car, everything. He said with one minimum wage job. And he was saying like I remember him telling me like he don't see how that's possible for our generation, and how he was lucky, like he was able to really accomplish a lot with one minimum wage job. So he always talked about, and I remember him, I'm going slightly off topic here, but I remember him always telling me like had he got a college degree, man, we would have been balling. I always say that we would have been balling because I think he was telling me in the 80s or the 90s he was making like 10 to 15,000 or something like that, 10,000, and he was like, man, 10 to 15,000 was a lot of money in the 80s. He said now, man, but now you make $70,000 a year and you're still struggling. You know, it's funny. I actually wrote into ChatGPT earlier today. I was like, I was looking at the rent in New York City. So I put, what is the average most affordable rent in New York City, which happens to be in the Bronx. And they were saying the average affordable rent in the Bronx happens to be $1,950. So then I asked ChatGPT, how much do you need to make to afford $1,950 a month? And according to ChatGPT, you need to make at least $78,000 a year, which comes to about $37.50. an hour for 40 hours a week. And that's crazy because the average person who's working a minimum wage job or unskilled labor is making less than $20 an hour. Matter of fact, even people with college degrees don't even make $78,000 a year. So I'm just confused how people are even surviving, to be honest. Like, I really don't know. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're really living like in the worst economy, the worst inflation, worst everything. And everything, honestly, everything was stolen from us. Because we were promised a dream as kids. You know, once you grow up, get your college degree, then you get your house, get your car, you start your family. No, but everything's taken from us because even if you have a college degree, you can't really afford a house at this point. You need roommates to survive because you're not going to make, the average person is not making $78,000, so you need to live with somebody. And so if you could barely afford to pay for your own expenses, how are you going to have kids? How are you going to have a family? Which is why we currently have, like, I believe, the lowest birth rates in history. And I remember actually just seeing this picture. Let me see if I find it. There was this picture that says when the economy was booming during during the war, I guess in the 1940s and 1950s, that's when the baby boomers were born. And it showed that the correlation to birth rates has a lot to do with jobs and money and economy. Soon as people weren't having jobs died down, the war died down, the factory jobs died down, you also saw the birth rates die down. So economics has a lot to do with birth rates. We pretty much just touched on all the topics of the problems, right? We know what the problems are. So what exactly are the solutions? So America is currently transitioning from a job economy to a trade economy. So let me explain the difference. A job economy is like, for example, you're coming to America, you're going to school because you want to find a job at, let's say, Chase Bank. You want to work for Chase Bank, want to be a bank teller. That's what you came to America for. A trade economy is, let's say, you're coming to America for the first time, but you're still learning skills for the first time, but instead of trying to become work to become a bank teller, you're coming here to become a bank yourself. Or maybe another example is, let's say you come to America and you learn how to plant and you learn how to farm. Instead of trying to find a job as a farmer, you come to America and you open up or you start a farm. And that way you trade with others. You trade with other people. That way, that's how you earn your income. Because everybody needs, for example, everybody needs eggs. Everybody needs food. So you start that and then you make your money. And then the person who bought from you is also doing trade. So they're making their money somewhere else, and everybody is offering some type of service. I'll give another example. I've seen a lot of people talking about like vibe coding or like coders or like software engineers losing their employment because of AI. And what I see on X is a big community. Like this is community called like Building Public. And they're actually talking about instead of trying to seek employment, everybody's trying to pivot to actually learning sales and marketing, because now instead they're going to use their skills to like especially with AI to like build software as a service or even build applications. And that way once they build it, they learn how to like, how do I put this product out to the market, and that way they can make money. So that's what the economy is turning into, from job economy to trade economy. So it's important that you learn marketing and sales, but not also that you still have to learn like the basic things. So for example, if you want to go to school, like the example I just made for coding or software, be a software engineer. I know people are saying don't do that because you won't have a job. Well, that's the point. You go to school to learn, to develop the skill, but then you use that skill to sell to other people. That's the new economy that we're in. So with that being said, if you want to start a business, make sure it's a business that can 100% replace you with AI. So for an example, I wouldn't tell you to get into copywriting services, because that's something everyone can do on their own. We're using, chatbots, AI chatbots. And lastly, in addition to learning skills, developing skills or marketing and sales, make sure to also learn how to trade stock, options, crypto. You know, that's something that's actually really popular with Gen Z and millennials, especially since we have apps on our phone like Robinhood and things like that. They're not paying me, they're not sponsoring me, they should. But it's another form of income, and especially when, since we have like a dying currency at the time of this recording on August 1st, 2025, we're losing value in our money. So we don't have a choice but to keep investing, but also, you know, also another form of income. It's not just to grow your money, but also trade to just make some money. And unfortunately, this has been a source of income for most people in our generation because it's hard for them to get jobs. But anyway, guys, if you made it this far, please give me a like. Please comment. At the time of this recording, I only have 15 subscribers. So, guys, if you like this video, please give me a like so you can promote me in the algorithm. Thank you so much for watching.